Hello and welcome to another Ben Listerine conversation. Welcome along. As you know, each week I chat to the great and good in the UK to talk about their life story and career. And this week's guest is no different. She's a singer-songwriter. She's joining me from North Wales, and it's the one, Gina Ross. Hello, Gina. Welcome along.
Hello there. Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon to you, Ben. Lovely to be here.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I'm fine. Our weather here is just a little bit overcast. We've had a few really wonderful days, and I happen to adore and love the sunshine. So, but it's a little bit cloudy and, as I said, overcast. But it's we have had some really good weather, so that always makes me happy, I guess.
Brilliant, brilliant, and it's good. And yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's brilliant at what you do and stuff. So we're here to chat about your singer-songwriter and your extras career. So I'm just going to shut up and let you talk. So where did it begin for you?
Okay. All right, my love. Well, I mean, it would have begun quite some time ago. And basically, when I was about 7 years old, and when I was a child living in Belfast, and I used to go to the Sunday schools there. And then on weekdays after school, I would then go up and down the streets of Belfast, and I would with the Sunday school, and I would sing through one of these big megaphones, like what the politicians all use, the big blue thing. And I used to sing hymns through them, and then we would then go round, and people would give us their money, and that would go to charities and local charities. So I think that set my fate as to what I was going to do as I got older, because I just absolutely adored singing. And then the moment it was actually decided for me to go professional. It wasn't that I said I'm going to go professional now. It was a place in Morecambe. I was working I think I'd just left school, yeah. And basically, it was a place called the Battery in Morecambe. And the headliner there was a guy called Jim Bowen, who then went on to do Bullseye, and a very dear friend and wonderful comedian. And basically, I was support to him and a lot of the other acts that came and went during that summer season. And at that time, I met a guy called Mort Allen, who was very good friends with all the big stars of the time, Matt Monro, just everybody. There were so many that he knew. And he basically said, he says, Gina, he says, you really do have a real chance at being in this business. He says, have you ever thought about going professionally? And I went, well, yes, eventually, but not right now. And he went, well, why not? Why not? And I said, well, I couldn't answer him really. So I said, okay, why don't we then? And so after him then saying, well, I'll take over your career and I'll manage you. And the first gig that I had, the first professional gig that I'd had outside the Battery Hotel in Morecambe was a 6 weeks engagement in Lagos in Nigeria at a place called the Federal Palace Hotel, which was a wonderful big 5-star hotel. And it really was amazing. It was an amazing adventure. And, there's so many things that went on there. And, it was in those days, you would have been allocated a seat on an aircraft. You would have definitely been allocated a seat. But I always remember that when they opened the gates, that people literally running towards the stairs to get up the stairs and just then pick any seat. And it was, it was all a bit sort of strange. But it was a life that I just thought, wow, okay, I'm going to learn an awful lot from the life that I'd chosen. So that was a great engagement. And then from there, I then ended up flying to Bombay, which is now Mumbai. And there I worked at a place called the Taj Hotel, and another amazing, wonderful hotel. And it was there that I performed in front of the His Highness, the Aga Khan. And I always remember one of his representatives coming to speak to me before the show. And I remember him saying, we have to make you aware, Gina, that if His Highness does get up and leave the room, we all have to get up and leave. Now, I mean, his entourage would have consisted of about 50 people. And the venue, the actual cabaret lounge, held about, I don't know, 200, something like that, maybe 250 tops. And so, for 50 people to get up and walk out all at once was not what I wanted at all. So thank goodness, His Highness and all the people that were with him stayed for the show. So that was quite an incredible, wonderful experience. And of course, the hotel was absolutely exceptional. And so from there, I then went to Indonesia, and that was a place called the Hotel Indonesia. And but, again, another wonderful hotel. And in those days, you would have to do in the afternoon, you would have to do like a private show for dignitaries and people like that. And it wasn't to have that private performance or for them to have a free show, as it were. It was to make sure that your repertoire and your outfits and the dresses you wore were appropriate for the room and also appropriate for your performance. So that was an incredible experience also. And then, of course, there were a lot of engagements back here in the UK where I had the wonderful fortune to have appeared as a support to many top line acts, people like Bob Monkhouse, who was what a wonderful man, what an exceptionally wonderful man. And then, of course, the late, great Tommy Cooper, who, again, very private. And I remember someone asking me, where was it that I appeared with him? And for the life of me at that time, I couldn't remember. But it was a place called Blighty's in Farnworth. It came to me after we'd finished the conversation. So, that was wonderful. And people like, Roy Chubby Brown and Billy Connolly, he was absolutely incredible. I appeared with him at a place called the King's Club in Birmingham. And then, of course, the late Freddie Starr and just so many. There's just so many that I couldn't simply mention them all. But of the really special people that do stand out, I would say that the most very special to me would have been when I was at the Wakefield Theatre Club, and I was doing a run of being on the stages. The Monday would have been Marty Kane. Then I think it was Paul Daniels, and then somebody else. And then on, I think, the Thursday or something, it was just an absolutely amazing opportunity to share the same stage as the wonderful, iconic Miss Tina Turner. And I always remember after that show going to see her in the dressing room that was right next to mine. And I always remember that I asked her, I said, Miss Turner, what advice would you give to like myself that's just starting out? And she basically said to me, she says, Gina, just never, ever, ever give up. And I, I'm at an age now where, you think, oh, just enjoy your retirement and, you know, lots of holidays and things like that. And it was just a case of going, well, I never am going to give up. So I'll probably be singing forever, as in the Bassie song, Born to Sing Forever. And so I never ever have. I never ever have. And as fate would have it, about 2 years ago, when I mean, there was like about 40 or 50 years of live recording, and then about 2 years ago, I I met this wonderful guy called Martin Sutton, who had an online songwriting academy. Now, I've always written, I've always written, but it was always a question of, am I good enough? Could I really do this? And then, of course, I met Martin, who is a multi-platinum award-winning songwriter and record producer. Now, he's produced and written songs for people like Mike and the Mechanics, Sir Cliff Richard, Olivia Newton-John, Leanne Rimes, Pixie Lott, Gary Barlow, and worked with the great Celine Dion. And so I was in really, really incredibly wonderful company. And so we got together and we wrote a couple of our songs, and which were very well received, which was all good. And then from there, we just continued writing. And with the recognition of the songs that we'd recorded, there were other songwriters and producers that came to me and said, Gina, I'd love to work with you. And I said, well, I'd love to work with you. And then hence the collaborations with other producers and songwriters just grew and grew, and as did my repertoire of songs. So that was amazing. But how that actually occurred was in the year of 2023. My husband was diagnosed with a cancer called myeloma, and obviously he had the cancer treatment, the chemo, and of course it made him very tired all the time, and so we couldn't do the things that we used to do. And so I found myself thinking, well, I'm obviously, we can't go anywhere, so I thought this is a good time to really focus on your songwriting. And so that's how, when I found Martin, and that's how it really all happened, going down the songwriting, recording artist route, as opposed to doing lots and lots and lots of live performances all around the world, and places like Zimbabwe, Swaziland, where I had the great honor of working with Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman. And that was a lot of fun. He was a really, really special man, very lovely. And then to South Africa, and then, of course, Europe. And yes, and then when I was in Europe, I then worked with a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful artist. And some of your listeners may have, I'm sure, have heard of him. And that was the wonderful Sasha Distel. And yeah, I've been so blessed. I have been incredibly blessed with such good fortune during my career and during my life, really, which has been absolutely so amazing. Really has been. It has indeed.
Nice. And what was it like working with Jim Bowen amongst other people? Because I know Jim Bowen was a Northwest lad who's had a great career.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about comics is that they are very very private people and very quiet off stage. I found that with a lot of them, and which is lovely because it's I guess it's their way of preparing themselves. And I used to know that when I was working with Jim, he was always great around his audiences and things like that. And but sometimes he would sort of say, Gina, do you mind if you go on after me? Purely from the point of view that sometimes if it got really, really, really late and it was just better if they went on around about that sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock mark, where the audiences would appreciate and enjoy them much more than say 11:30 or midnight. So it was always a pleasure if he said that. I said, yeah, not a problem, to then go on after him. But with working with so many of them, they are an absolute joy. And that's I often remember that when we used to sort of talk very privately, that they had good shows, they had not so good shows, they had and it was always a question that whatever happens, the show goes on. One night might not be as good as another night, but the following night you'd storm them, and you're on an incredible high, and I think it's an incredibly tough job that they do. And so my utmost and absolute respect goes to all those wonderful comedians that are out there, indeed. But when I was just thinking then, when I was talking about the comedians, a wonderful, another singer who I worked with, and he was wonderful. Sorry, is still wonderful. He's still with us, and that is Tony Christie. And I always remember, when I was working with Tony, he would have his, I think it was either the Guardian or the Telegraph crossword in the dressing room, and he would sit and just do the crossword, and it was his way of getting himself prepared. And I always remember somebody asking me, Gina, how do you prepare for a show? And, when you go into a show or drive into a show and what happens with me is I get very, very, very quiet. I could be on a journey of 6-hour journey to a gig or to a venue and not say a word. It's my way of preparing myself. And also, I know it sounds a little bit odd, but also I have to have complete silence. If someone wants to talk to me, don't get me wrong, I can, I listen and talk back. But like if the radio's on, or I have to go, can we have the radio off, please? And it is just how it is amazing how different artists actually prepare and psych themselves up for the job they've got to do. Indeed, yeah, it's yeah, and we're all different. We're all very different in that respect.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. And what's been your highlight over the last few years, and what's been your favorite venue to sing in?
Well, I would say that the highlight, I'm sure, would have been meeting Tina Turner, because it was just incredible for me. And it is so funny when I look back and all the artists of all these big stars that I've worked with. I was always too shy to say, may I have my photograph taken with you? I mean, like today, gosh, you would have been clicking the camera left, right, and center. But I was always too shy to say, mate. So I don't really have an awful lot of pictures of when I was working with all these incredible people. And it's so funny because I often think, you know, when I do tell people that, you know, and I've worked with her and him and them, and I'm thinking, I hope you believe me because it is true. You know, it is, you know, and it is just one of those situations that, you know, I that is one thing that I actually do tend to regret is that I never was snapping pictures all over the place with these incredible artists. And I think the in answer to your question, one of the venues. Well, there's two really, and one would have been out in when I was out in Zimbabwe, and I had the opportunity to appear at a place called the Victoria Falls Hotel, right next to Vic Falls, and that was incredible. That was incredible to go to, you know, this hotel where, you know, Queen Victoria went, and it really it was incredible, and the other venue I think that has meant so much to me throughout my career would have been the Opera House in Blackpool when I was on the same bill as the wonderful late Joe Longthorne, Sid and Eddie, Little and Large, and quite a few other acts. And it was that was incredible because every night, you know, for nearly 6 months, we'd have a capacity, an audience capacity of like 3,000 people. And that was just incredible. That was a wonderful a personal achievement for me, and the show was wonderful. And I always remember them saying, Gina, we need you to do a script with Sid and Eddie. And I thought, well, you know, we're opening in 2 days, and okay, and it was just handed to me, and because they were so brilliant to work alongside, and they were so funny, the pair of them, that, you know, well, 2 days later the script was there, and it was done, and it was every night was incredible. And I always remember when I was going up to my dressing room, and then coming out of the lift was Bradley Walsh, and I remember always he had this wonderful scarf around his neck. You know, it's like a real walk down memory lane for me today. This, and I thought, oh, what a fantastic scarf! And you know, who knew that? You know, there he is now, this wonderful star, and you know, so incredibly well deserved, by the way. And there he was, just smiling, going, hello, hello. And I went up to my dressing room, and that was that really. But you know, as I said, I have had the incredible good fortune and been so blessed to have the life that I have had in the business, in the biz, as they say.
Brilliant. And what's it been like being in the business, and who's been your favorite person you've been interviewed by?
Oh, well, you, of course, Ben.
You,
um, uh,
you can't
um,
be biased.
um, I, gosh, who? No, I mean, I have the utmost respect and enjoy the time that I have with all those people that interview me. They're always so warm and making me feel comfortable and relaxed, and which is wonderful, which is so wonderful, because it's really important that you are able to feel that relaxed around those that are, you know, sort of asking you the questions that need answered. And yeah, so it's that's always a joy to be able to feel that comfortable, and also when you're in the company of these people that interview you, and they sort of give the feedback that, oh, oh gosh, I understand that, because that happened to me, or that happened to someone I knew. When I've been asked about the songs that I've written in respect of when I wrote Sunglasses in the Rain, I mean, that was a song about domestic abuse, which when I was younger, I suffered. I was in a relationship that was very abusive. And, it's amazing when people open up to you and tell you a little glimpse into their own life. And I always remember when I went down to actually record that song after Martin and I had done a lot of Zoom meetings to get the melody right, to get the lyrics right. And I was sat on the train going down to the recording session, and there was this young, beautiful girl sat across from me, not directly across from me, but in the to the left of me. And I noticed that she had a black eye, and she was on the phone to a friend of hers, and she was going, no, I've told him that, we can remain friends, but I'm not prepared to go through all this. No, I'm not prepared to have, my life ruined like this. And whatever she said, it was obvious to me what had happened. And I mean, I was almost in tears because it all came flooding back to me, and how incredible that here I was going down to a recording studio to record this song about what had happened to me and what had obviously happened to her. And so yes, when I'm being interviewed, it is amazing to be asked the questions that I'm asked, and which is so wonderful, really, to actually be completely truthful, because there's there's nothing to hide. It's just, there you go. That's why this song was written. Like Wandering Girl, for instance. Wandering Girl was written for my late cousin, who was so stunning, so beautiful, and just wanted to go down to the bright lights of London and see the world. And of course, in the end, those lights, like she did, faded. And, what should have been such a, well, it did start off as very wonderful, exciting life for her, but it soon turned not so bright and amazing. And so when I get the inspiration for a lot of the songs that I write, they are from a place of honesty and truth. And so, which is great, because you're hoping that that truthfulness will reach out to people and go, gosh, this has happened to me, or that happened to someone I know. And so I know that if that happens, and I get a lot of feedback from people that have said, oh, I enjoyed listening to that song, and I could really relate to that song. It just, all I can say is thank you so much, because I know I'm doing my job. I know I'm doing my job if that can happen. I mean, the first song that Martin and I wrote was a song called Go Easy. And it was to do with my daughter, who was having quite a few mental health challenges. And after releasing that song, the amount of people that sort of came to me and said, this song has meant so much to me, because it, when I was in such despair, it just made me think, yeah, there's a chance that tomorrow will be a good day. And yeah, so it's really, really important. It has always been important to me that, especially in my songwriting, and I mean in my performing also, as a live performer, what you see is what you get. And but especially when it comes to my own personal thoughts about writing songs, is to actually reach an audience where they go, this song really means an awful lot to me. So that's, I guess that's where, in respect of my writing and being honest and truthful would come from, indeed.
Yeah, yeah. Who inspired you on your journey? And who would you
Gosh,
like to say thank you to?
oh well, gosh, there would be quite a few of people out there that I would love to say that to. My first would be to my manager, my first manager, Mort Allen, because he saw in me from a very young age something that I knew I would sing, but I didn't, I didn't realize that I'd be doing the venues and all the things in between that I have done with my career. So it would definitely be Mort Allen. And then I guess there would be, I've got to say this because my daughter, without a doubt, my child, because I brought her up as a single parent, and she's turned out to be the most beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, wonderful young woman. And because she's given me so much inspiration to write the songs that I have written, uh, that's, she would be the top of the list. I would definitely think, as well as so many artists, that there's just too many to mention individually. But one of the recent songs that I wrote was a song called Fractured. And that was a really, really tough song to write because unfortunately she was in a situation where she was in a relationship that broke down, and there were two beautiful young children involved. And basically, she found herself virtually homeless. And thank goodness we were able to step in and provide a home for her, with my two wonderful grandsons. And this song Fractured was, I'm not broken, I'm just fractured. Every day I find a way to carry on. The nights are still the worst and leave me shattered. I'm not broken, I'm just fractured. And it was with the knowledge, I mean, the pain my child went through is just, but it's a pain a lot of young women go through, have gone through all their lives, but, now more so than, or maybe I just notice it more. And basically, it was so devastating that I thought, we've got to write this song. We've got to do this song. And again, the amount of people that have come to me and said, thanks for writing it. Thanks, because, I know that in time my heart will heal. But when it's just sort of all that devastation is happening, you don't really think that that's going to happen. But, in the lyrics to the song, I try to portray that it will. You will be fine. You will be fine. And as I said about the inspiration, with gosh, I mean, Martin Sutton, and it has been a great inspiration to me, and also my good friends, Chris Spurrier and Nick Prince. Nick Prince and Sue have been wonderful. And people that just sort of say, that guide and direct and support and do the things that that they'll say they'll do, and in respect of just guiding me in the right way and sort of saying, well, I think you should consider doing this, or maybe we should go down this route. And so the people that inspire me are those that have basically just shown me love and support all my entire life, really.
Brilliant. And what track is your guilty pleasure, and what track would you chuck in the bin, music wise?
Oh, oh wow, gosh! Now then, oh my gosh, right. My guilty pleasure. My guilty pleasure. What song would be my guilty pleasure? I well, I love Stevie Winwood and his song "Higher Love." I just think that that just is just the most incredible song that I've ever known. As well as an awful lot of Barbara Streisand and an awful lot of Bassie and an awful lot of Celine and gosh, there's again, I just the list would be endless. But oh gosh, I've just thought of one that I used to sing and I used to totally adore, and it did used to always go down well, and that is Happy Days by Barbara Streisand. I just love that one. I totally adore that. So that's my guilty pleasure. Gosh, the one that I would throw in the bin. Oh gosh, I I'm the sort of woman who would find uh, some sense of joy in all music. So I'm going to be so diplomatic now and just say that there's not one I would throw in the bin. Oh gosh! Right, did I get out of that one?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ben.
What would you say to your 10-year-old self? Where do you see yourself in
What
10
would I
years'
say to
time?
my 10-year-old self? Wow. Oh, I would. What would I say to my 10-year-old self? I would say, because this business can be pretty ruthless. I would say learn to trust more. Learn to trust more, because uh, because as I said, it's a real tough business, and there's lots of people that wish you well and then don't wish you well, and there's lots of people that you know will smile and then not smile, and I think because especially because I've been in the business so long, you try to protect yourself an awful lot. You try to say, well, I'll sort of meet you halfway, and then okay, I'll meet you three quarters, and then. But I would say to my younger self, uh, to have been guarded, but to learn to trust more. And if I was to say to my grandsons, I would tell them, I'd say, please don't worry. Please don't worry. I mean, I was a born warrior. I didn't, and I don't mean warrior. I mean worry, as in worry, what will happen, and, worry about this, worry about that. And I would tell uh, my wonderful grandsons to don't worry, don't worry. The universe will let you know. The universe will let you know. So yeah, that's exactly what I would have said to my younger 10-year-old self. Indeed.
Nice. It's brilliant. And yeah. And what advice would you give to the next generation of Gina Rosses who want to follow in your footsteps?
Right. Well, first of all, I would say what I've just said, that learn to trust your instincts, work hard. I mean, I can't tell you enough. Learn your craft. Learn if you dance, take dancing lessons. Learn an instrument. Uh, uh, get yourself piano lessons, guitar lessons, um, sing as if no one's watching, you know. Sorry, it's dance if no one's watching, sing if no one can hear. And I can't remember the rest of that wonderful saying. But I would definitely learn your craft and learn it well. And and especially when you're doing live performances and when you're introducing your next song. I mean, I always remember people always saying to me, Gina, we love the way you introduce that song. And, you know, always link a song to a story, or have an intro that is going to be relative to the next song. So that almost like your show runs like a film almost. That there's the script, there's you singing a song, then there's a script, and then there's the script into the song, and then there's that opportunity to reach out to the audience, then pull back and pull them in with the script of what you're saying, not only what you're singing, but what you're saying in between those songs as well. It's really important. And one thing that I've always never ever said was, I'm going to do a song and it goes a little bit like this. You know, it's just an absolute no. And if I was to be guiding those young ones coming up now and say, you know, just say anything, but don't say that, because you're actually demeaning yourself, that it goes something like this when you could actually be singing it 10 times better than the original. So, you know, don't do that, but just do, you know, for all of those of you who have felt love and always wanted to be loved, here's a song for you. You know, there's so many things that you could say as opposed to, here's a song that goes like this. So, yes, and I would definitely, in this day and age, well, I'm sure the young ones out there know all about social media, and in fact, you know, help. Because it really is. I find it so tough, but I'm learning. You know, 2.5 years later, I'm slowly learning. But yeah, promote yourselves. Get a good promotion team together, which I now have with Nick Prince and Chris Spiria, and you know, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful that, you know, you have that guidance. And just work hard. You know, when you think that it's like, oh, I've, you know, yeah, we've done that song now. We've, you know, well, no, go back and do it again. Go back and just go, well, really, we could do this better. There's just maybe, you know, especially when you're writing, you know, there might be a line that you think, it's not such a good line, that. And as opposed to going, oh, I'll have to do, you know, just go back and make sure that all you do is to the very, very best of your ability. And also, when you've asked that question, Ben, it's made me think that the opportunities that are out there now that weren't out there when I was young and starting out, with all these performing schools that are out there and these courses that you can go on, you know, do them all and find joy and love in all that you do. Indeed, it's a great life. It's an incredibly hard life, and the ups, the highs are the highs, and the lows can be pretty low. I remember when I've not done so well, coming back from a gig and cried all the way home in the pouring rain and in the car, and you know, and these are the days before, you know, you were hoping your car got you home, you know, before all these mobile phones. And so there's as well as the incredible highs, there will be those lows, but then that's life. So grab it and totally enjoy it all. That's what I would say.
Brilliant. Gina Ross, thanks for joining me here on Ben Lister in Conversation today.
Oh, it's been my absolute pleasure. It really, really has. And thank you very much, Ben, for having me on your
You're
brilliant
very
show.
welcome. Don't forget,
Thank
this will be available in full as a podcast and the best bits on the Ben Lister in Conversation radio show. But I'll see you same time, same place next time. All that's left to say is that's a wrap and be out. Bye bye. See you
Bye bye.
soon. Bye bye.